This is the homework helper for Workbook 7-6, line graphs. So if we take a look at number 1, we're supposed to make a line graph of the data. And we've got that large chart there that's comparing the price of gasoline in the United States to the year in which we purchased the gasoline. So the year's information is going to go across an axis on the line graph, while the price is going to go across another. I'm going to put the years down across the bottom because, as you can see, it's kind of set up that way. So I'm going to start my graph here at 1990 and then go to 92, 94, 96, and so on until I cover all the years that my graph needs to cover. Remember, we also want to include a label on the axis because that is proper for a graph, so we're going to call that year. So that, of course, means that the costs are going to have to go up the y-axis, up-down axis. So we're going to put our prices here. Now, we have some choices here, but where people tend to make a mistake on this question is they want to jump numbers real quick and try and get this said and done. And you really can't do that quite yet here. All graphs have to start at 0. There's not really any question about that. You can't start it at any other increment. Now, if you want to skip some numbers, because we're looking at this list and seeing it does go all the way down to $1, you can do that, but you can only do that right at the very beginning here. And then after that, you're going to have to jump up by an even increment here. So if you want to skip some numbers here, now would be your chance. So I'm going to put a little squiggle basically over the y-axis, which indicates that I'm skipping some numbers. And where you kind of start now is up to you. I'm going to start here at $1. And then you have to go up by an even increment after that. So whatever amount you want to go up by is up to you, but you have to be willing to stick with it. I'm going to go up by increments of 30 cents. So I'm going to go up to $1.30, and then $1.60, and then $1.90. And as you can see, I picked those numbers because I've got to get all the way up to 182 here for 2004. So if I go up by a smaller amount, I'm not going to make it. Had I gone up by like 25 cents, it would be $1.25, $1.50, $1.75, and I don't have enough numbers, I'd be off the graph. Alright, and of course that needs a label as well, so we got to label that cost. Or if you want to label it price, you could label it price. So in 1990, the cost was $1.16. So halfway between $1 and $1.30 would be $1.15. I want to be just a little bit past that mark there to show that it's at 116. In 1992, the price actually came down to $1.13. So we already know where that $1.15 mark is, so I'm just going to go down a little bit to show 113. In 94, the price came down again to $1.11, so a little bit lower than the previous mark, because remember that mark represents 113. In 1996, the price was $1.23, so now we're going to go up to our highest mark so far, but below the 130 to show that it's at 123. In 98, the price came way down, and it went all the way down to $1.06, which is our lowest mark of the chart. So it's got to be lower than this dot I made previously on 1994. And then we're going to show the prices really moving up. In 2000, the price is going to move to $1.54. So we know where $1.60 is, so I'm going to come down just beneath that marker to show that. In 2002, the price was $1.32, so now we're going to be just over the $1.30 marker. And in 2004, it was at 182, which is the highest of this entire chart here. If we know here that this is 160, this is 190, halfway would be 175, so it's beyond halfway here, but not quite up to 190, so we'll say it's about there. And then, since this is a line graph, not a bar graph, a line graph, we're connecting our dots with lines. It's not intended to be one motion. These aren't curves. These are all line segments that connect the different dots. And notice one other thing we didn't do. We didn't start out here at 0. There is no data out here, so I can't make a marker or a line that goes from here to here. That doesn't exist. You don't want to make that mistake. Now, the other mistake we have right now that we can easily correct is we don't have a title. our graph needs a title. All graphs should have a title. So here we're going to put, for a title, price of U.S. gasoline, and now we'll have a proper line graph. Now, let's take a look also at question number 3. In question 3, they're asking how much did gasoline cost in 1995? Well, 1995 would be this marker that's in between 94 and 96. So you have to estimate about at which value would 1995 fit in. And it sure looks like to me that's right about halfway between the dollar and the $1.30 marker. So right around $1.15 would be an acceptable answer there for question number 3. You're going to apply these same techniques to question number 4 that you see at the bottom of the page. You're going to do your years across the bottom and your numbering up the y-axis, except you're going to have 2 lines here. Have one line for New City and another line for Jackson. So this graph, in addition to the titles and labels, will also need a key, which is why you see that box here at the bottom. However you do the New City bar and however you do the Jackson bar, you need to indicate. So if you do the New City bar in one color and the Jackson bar in another color, indicate the colors. If you do one line solid and another line dashed, indicate which one is solid, which one dashed. However you show those, you have to show them somehow being different, but they're going to lay on top of this same graph. And again, use the techniques you saw in question number 1. The setup is not dramatically different than number 1 at all.